Okay guys, what we have here on this table is 21 wines from Naked Wines. This is every wine that I could find at the $10 price point. The absolute cheapest I could find on the entire website. Let's see if there's any quality. G'day guys, welcome back to the Thirsty Mason. I know it's been a long time. Sorry about the lack of uploads lately. I promise I've had a whole bunch of videos lined up for you guys. Just I had a bit of issue with my health lately. Hopefully that stuff's behind us and we can actually start uploading some new content. I'm just happy to start drinking wine again because I had a bit of a scare with my stomach and I may have had to stop drinking wine altogether. Luckily enough, we've gotten through that, fingers crossed, and we can start our video today on a topic that I'm quite interested in. You see, you know that I buy a lot of wine from Naked Wines. Pardon the headset, this is just an attempt to see if I can clean up my video quality a little bit because there's a half decent mic in this beautiful headset. I have bought unbelievable wines from Naked Wines before, and my budget for wine is quite high. But I wanted to put myself in a situation where I was, not as well off as I am. And they state there is a wine of high quality at every single price point. I wanted to test that theory. So I bought literally every budget wine that they had on their website. Adds up to about 20 to 21 bottles. These are all the whites that I could possibly find. 7 bottles all up. So this video will be broken up into 3 segments where I'll be doing these 7 whites, then I'll do 7 reds, and then 7 reds for a total of 21 budget wines. Every last one of them is $10 on the dot. We will see if there's any quality within the budget range here, because they're stating that there are actual winemakers making even these budget ranges. Okay, let's get into it. The way I've set up my bottles, I'll be starting with a sparkling, and then the lighter ranges of a Sauv Blanc, and then a Pinot Grigio. And as we know, Pinot Grigio is not complex. It is Pinot Gris that is the more complex, more mouth-filling. After that, interestingly, a Riesling. And what you don't know about me is I actually love cheap Riesling because they don't try to make it too complex and it just comes out tasting like a really, really light Shardy. Speaking of Shardy, 3 Shardies to finish off. One of them is wild fermented, which how they do it at $10 is quite surprising to me. Anyway, let's start off with our sparkling. Jen Pfeiffer, the Rebel Bubbles. Alright, sweet as. And she states that this is just a very straightforward expression of bubbles. I love the fact that they got a crown cap seal on this. Having a cork adds complexity to sparkling wine, I get that. It adds yeastiness the more it has contact with it. And usually it's only cheaper ranges that use the crown cap. Doesn't change the fact that I have a secret love for sparklings and crown caps. I don't know what it is about them. Just the simplicity of it, that's it. You just pop it and you're off. So, I'm not going to be observing the bubbles here. She specified this is an everyday, just pop it and enjoy it kind of wine. I'm not expecting yeastiness, liveliness, all that kind of stuff. Not baked bread, not brioche. I just want a approachable bubble. Let's see what the color's like, what the bubble's like. I doubt that she's using like proper method traditionnel, but she's being honest with what she's putting in her bottle. Alrighty. Yeah, fast, but the quality is quite high. Let's have a look what we're doing here. Oh mate, I miss wine. Far out. Very, very zesty. Bit of passion fruit. It's very, very clean. Alright, understandably this is quite enjoyable. I'm also loving the fizz in this is real. Like they're not playing games. It's real bubbly. Tickles your nose, lemony. Gorgeous. Mm. Zingy. Very young, zingy, powerful, like bubbly all over the tongue. Holy moly. Yeah, it's very much alive. Yep, yep. Oh, zangy. Very lemony. Like, it's quite enjoyable, but I think that needs like smoked salmon and like avocado or crackers with like something creamy on it, you know what I mean? It's very, very delightful. Like, for the price, you can get, like, I've tasted worse sparklings at about $15 to $16. So this thing's beating them. It's not oversweet. It's honest wine. I'm making the assumption that this and this is going to taste identical. This is just a bubbly version of the Shadi. It's very well made. And for $10, you can't really complain. If you do, then good luck there. Like, what more can I say? Okay, let's move on. It's very, very, very violently foamy. It's quite impressive. Okay, the Rebel Sauv Blanc 2021, Jen Pfeiffer. So her Rebel series is like the entry level wines. Sauv Blanc, you know what we're looking for. Bit of passion fruit, bit of liveliness. And it's there. It has a bit of a funk to it. But not that extreme funk that you get from super cheap wine. It's very, very, very light. Yep. No. The entry is quite lovely, but then it has this unbelievably volatile acid that like spreads around the edges of your tongue. Oh, Jesus Christ. Ugh. Oh, Lord. Alright. Understandably, that's terrible. The way I can explain it is, have you ever tried to eat a walnut and gotten a big mouthful of that bitter exterior that surrounds the nut area itself, where it dries out your tongue, gives you that bitterness on the palate, and then top it off with like the pith of an orange up around the edges? It is rough stuff. The bubbles was half decent. This is just, I wouldn't wish anyone to try that. That is not a very, very good rendition of a Sauv Blanc. Try to avoid that. Here we go. Boy Meets Girl, Pinot Grigio. The Santolini family. Let's give that a go. Now, I try to remember this one from before. I recall that this was a Pinot Grigio that was just confused about what it was, in the regard that it was almost made in a style of Pinot Gris. It smells beautiful. That melon. Almost like a smidge of like the smallest smidge of white pepper. It's quite interesting. Okay, then again, too much viscosity for the white style that's meant to be. There's sweetness on the very, very tip, on entry, but it doesn't mellow out and like, it's just blunt. It has not much going for it. Like, if I got served that, I wouldn't be upset. But there's nothing to think about with this wine. When you think of the word white wine, when you're a beginner, that's what you taste. Not much going on. I wouldn't play with it all that much. Not offensive. Let's move on. This one's a bit interesting. Riesling. At $10 a bottle is unheard of. Riesling's difficult to find. Well, difficult to farm, pardon me. Difficult to grow. So to have it at $10 a bottle is either a huge bargain or a massive dud. Let's find out. Alright, no petroleum on the nose. This is why I enjoy cheap Riesling. Smells a lot cleaner. White peaches. Just very, very fragrant and lovely. That's lovely. It's not too bad. Like, that is far more approachable than the previous two wines that was supposed to be a lighter style. And Riesling is like notorious for having a lot more complexity. It's blunt, but that's why I like it. Like this, so far in the lineup, happens to be my favorite one. Yeah, simple, bright, slightly acidic, very well balanced. If you're a Riesling drinker, don't buy this. If you're just a white wine drinker, I suggest giving it a go. It won't hurt anything. Bigger glass, Chardonnay, they're slightly more complex. Now, this one I'm really interested in. Feet on the ground, wild fermented Chardonnay. It speaks levels. I love wild fermented Chardonnay, meaning that they didn't introduce any form of yeast to this Chardonnay. They let the natural yeasts on the grape do their business. Has a beautiful green tinge. I'm using the larger glass, trying to get more nose out of this. Oh, that smells lovely. I love wild fermentation. It ends up yielding a much more floral nose out of a Chardonnay. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've never actually enjoyed it as a drink over a properly like man-made yeast, but in and of itself, as a product, I've never hated it. I'm thinking back, Desailly's Vineyards makes a beautiful wild fermented Chardonnay, and it is like leaps and bounds ahead of most things made elsewhere. Now, I'm not looking for region on absolutely any of these, you've noticed, because they're not going to give me a region. This is wine of Australia through and through. Oh, delicious. That's really lovely. Again, very short. All of these are short. When I say the word short, I mean doesn't give you a prolonged experience on the palate. It comes like a big wave, slams you against the shore, and then it just disappears. So this isn't wine that you have to think about. It's just pour and drink, basically. But it smells lovely, light, fruity. Tastes lovely, light, fruity. The acid is almost non-existent. Doesn't make you go on the side of the tongue. It's quite lovely. Yeah, there should be no hassle drinking it. Very clean rendition of what wild fermented Chardonnay can truly produce. Let's go to man-made fermentation. Well, man-made yeast fermentation. Alright, Jen Pfeiffer, Rock Like a Redhead, the Rebel Chardonnay. Again, her Rebel range, cheaper range. Let's see, and immediately this is less green than the previous. Let's see what it does for the actual nose. Yeah, more blunt. Wild fermentation gives a much larger floral nose. It's hard to find, but when you do find a wild fermented Chardonnay, I suggest grabbing it purely just for the experience of it. It's quite lovely. Alright, this is a lot more blunt, a lot more creamy, a lot more round. You can smell that there's actually been some oak action, whether that's chips or whether that's like second fill oak after she made her premium, and then she fills this up as like a second round to undertake fermentation within it, just to get that creaminess to come through. It's not going to yield too much on the palate too much, I don't believe, but I think on the nose it's giving a lot more smoothness, butteriness. And yeah, drinking experience vastly different to the wild fermented. Wild fermented comes through like a wave, slams you in. This is almost like you're wading into the water, and it's more like, first of all, the shock of being cold, and then you get used to it. You get me? It's that kind of degree of. Have you ever eaten an Oreo biscuit? The first bite's amazing, and afterwards they all just taste the same throughout the whole packet. It's not unpleasant. You know what you're gonna get. This is a shardy that you know what you're gonna get. It's quite lovely. It's comforting. It's got the right amount of mouthfeel. It's got a very pleasant taste. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's quite lovely. That is a standout for me. Very clean. Okay, last but not least, the Wiley Rooster Shardy 2021. Let's find this out. Okay, I've never had the Wiley Rooster before. Alright, this seems thinner. Less colour. Let's have a look. It tones back on the creaminess, but ups the acidity. You can almost smell it, that tang. It's kind of like pineapple. Ugh. Okay. The thing that's going on here is the same as the Sauv Blanc, where they got a whole bunch of volatile acidity in it. First sip's lovely, and then afterwards the side effects start coming in, where they get that huge amount of acidity, like battery acid, sitting up around the edges of your tongue. No, that's grog. Okay, what's our conclusion? Let's pick out, gold, bronze, and silver, alright? Oh, it's foul. Ugh. Okay, gold medal here. I believe that this sparkling, it's fun, it's light, very approachable, with almost no negativeness on the palate. Not much going on, but still quite lovely. Okay, silver. Jen Pfeiffer, Rocket Like a Rebel, Shardy, alright. Recipe Chardonnay, good mouthfeel, good length. You can't really go wrong with it. Lastly, this Wild Shardy had a bit more interest on the palate than the rest of these. Okay, it's good to have these two as a reference point, so you can identify the difference between a wild fermented Chardonnay, a regular fermented Chardonnay. Ironically, all three of these are Chardonnays, and all three of them won, proving that Chardonnay is, even at the cheaper points, a far more reliable bet to roll your dice on than Grigio and like Riesling, or even Sauv Blanc, if you're talking about like Australian stuff. Maybe in New Zealand you might find some quality in the $10 price range, even in the $8 price range. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this video and hope it helped you out. If you are going to buy from Naked Wine, see if you can get these particular wines, and then you can tell me your opinion, whether I'm talking shit or whether my palate can somehow match up with something that might appeal to you. Anyway, join me next week, fingers crossed, around Tuesday, where I'll be doing another 7 reds. All $10, all within the budget range for this budget series. Anyway guys, stay thirsty. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And God bless. Stay safe.